Welcome back to Exquisitely Aligned. I'm your host, Gina Meyer Vincent, and your personal soul shifter. Today, here at Exquisitely Aligned, we like to help you define and design the destiny you desire and deserve, where you essentially become exactly what's missing in the world. And today, my guest has done exactly that. So thank you, Jenny, for being you. Jenny Harkleroad is the founder and CEO of Balanced You. She's a two-time #1 best-selling author, speaker, and mind change coach. She's a mother of 4, which is her greatest claim to fame. I love that. Yes. Woohoo. Jenny has a dramatic story to share, which changed everything in her life and will impact you too. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Jenny. I'm delighted to have you with me this morning.
Thank you, Gina. So happy to be here.
So let's jump in right away. I know that there are a few things that I want to say maybe overlap or that we share. I know on your website you talk about unhappy, unfulfilled, in pain. You don't have to be. And I oftentimes say that fine is a 4-letter word. And when we're just settling and feeling unfulfilled, unsatisfied, or unhappy, those are for me, that's a barometer that life should be better than just fine. And I think we oftentimes settle based on what society tells us is, should be fulfilling, should be making us happy, joyful, blissful. And I know I've had my own journey, but let's start with, where or how did that sentence come about for you? And then we'll just dive in and break into different little areas, because I know there's so much we can chat about.
Yeah, I love that question. And, unhappy, unfulfilled, and pain is, my client attractor words on my website. But if I would have described my own words, back then, it would have been mad, bad, and sad, and in pain. So I was a level deeper than the unhappy, unfulfilled. I was really struggling, and I didn't know how to fix it, which was the problem. Right. Everything I tried to do, I said my positive affirmations in the mirror, and I had a therapist and a bishop at church, and I prayed and I tried, and I didn't know what else to do. So I was really stuck and looking for a solution. But after so many years and even decades of trying to find a solution, I just kind of gave up on a solution. Right. And just kind of said, I guess this is just how it's going to be. I'm going to put on a happy face, fake it till you make it, but I was never making it. I was just faking it. I was popping a lot of pain pills because of the pain. And I just distracted myself with being busy and making money because I was good at that. Taking care of my 4 kids, I was good at that. But I was definitely in a place where something had to change, and I didn't know what or how that was going to happen.
I love that. So let's stop right there, because I have a bunch of notes already. So few things that you said. I love that you ended with distracted, right? And I think oftentimes in our society, in our world, we believe that being busy is like this badge of honor, that we are so special. We're so, I'm going to say, important. And I find even with my children, my son just graduated college, but if I would call him while he was at school and he would say, I'm busy, what do you want? And I'm like, that's a 4-letter word. I don't want to hear out of your mouth. You can say some curse words, but that word, busy, fine, those are words I don't like hearing. And I'm teasing you about the curse words, and those are not very enjoyable either. But busy and fine to me are at that level. Like, what do you mean you're busy? Are you spending time on things that aren't really moving the needle for you, or aren't relevant, or aren't filling your cup? I think time, money, and energy, is my favorite thing to talk about and write about. And so can you remember back to a time, 4 kids, anyone who has kids is busy. 4 kids is naturally busy, right? And a spouse, right? So that's a big household. That's a lot of hands and mouths to feed and laundry to do and calendars to keep up with, schedules. But can you remember back to like a younger time, whether you were, I don't know, in college or even childhood, where you were happy, carefree, like any of the words, joyful, you fill in the blank, but can you remember a time that you did feel? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this after you answer.
Yeah. So I used busy to mask my feelings. And so I remember being happy. Let's go way back. When I was 2 years old, I asked my mom if I could move out
At
at 2 years old.
Oh, I have goosebumps, Jenny.
And she said, "You're not potty trained." And I said, "Pack diapers." I mean, so I remember points of my young childhood being happy and carefree, but most of the time it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time I got put on prescription pain pills when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Most of the time after that, I was busy. I was in sports, I was in band, I had a job, a straight A student, all the things. I was busy all the way through until maybe a month ago. We can talk more about that.
Yeah, no, I love that, because that is what I help people with, like how to build that freedom for fun. So, and if you don't want to answer this question because it's personal and it involves other people, that's fine. Okay, Jenny. So I just want to set that ground rule. But would it be fair to say that that environment wasn't aligned with bringing you joy as a 2-year-old?
For sure. Absolutely. Okay. And it mostly had to do with my personality. Mm-hmm. And my mom's personality, and the two of us being like water and oil.
Yes.
And because of my dominant nature, me not understanding that I had to play by her rules. And it was a battle for 18 years.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up, because let's talk about that, because we do each have different personalities. You know, Jenny, that I have a biological son who's 22 and then an adopted daughter from Guatemala who's 18, and totally different personalities, even if they were born from both Mark and I, right? Yeah. And I think that's a big thing as a parent. We have to be able, the child at 2 doesn't understand. Why are we not seeing eye to eye, right? Mm-hmm. Child at 18 still doesn't understand. But I think as parents, or those who are preparing to become a parent, or our grandparents, aunts, godmothers, all the things, all the titles we have, or parent-like figures to a neighbor's child, so forth, to understand that even though we'd like to think that we're cut from the same cloth and we're going to live life the same way and experience and taste things the same. I remember cooking for only the 4 of us. Everyone had an opinion. And it was like, I didn't ask your opinion. I just stood on my feet, chopping vegetables in the oven, on the cooktop, setting the table. Like, you're lucky you have something to eat. I'm not asking for reviews, like this is not a restaurant. And it was hard as a new mom who was trying to be everything to everybody, maybe not everything to everybody, but a little bit caring, of wanting to please and make people happy and have them eat the vegetables, right, when they're little. But so has there been a time now, because you said, 2 to 18, like looking back, right, we always have hindsight is so magical, especially when you're a mom of 4, you can see. But have you been able to take that relationship with your mom? Is she still with us? And change that? I know I had difficulties. My mom listens to this show, so she's probably like, oh, Jenny, you're so much like my daughter. It's no wonder that you're a guest on her show. I get it, because she was this firecracker who, as a 3-year-old, I told my mom, I'm not wearing those pajamas. They're ugly. She told me nobody would see them. And I told her, it doesn't matter. I'm seeing them. Right. It's not that I'm wearing this for anybody else, but I'm going to have nightmares if I have to wear these pajamas, So our arguments were a little different. I wasn't moving out because I needed the cushy bed, but I was definitely not taking those pajamas anywhere special anytime soon. And I think it's great when you have that tenacity, that vigor, that stamina, that fire, but it is also hard to raise that child. So where did it go, or where is it now? What can you share with us?
Yeah, I love that. And really there's two parts to my answer. One is with my mom and one is with my son. So with my mom, we've made amends through the work that I do.
Yes.
And us, me, of course, getting older and wiser and realizing it was just our two personalities and not understanding each other and both thinking we were right and not giving in and all those things, and so we're definitely on good terms now. And, yeah, so that's great. I think where I really learned the lesson though was through our son. He's our youngest. So we have three girls and then a boy. So 27, 24, 21, and he's about to turn 18. Nice. And he's got not the same personality as me, but he has a stubborn streak that there's I don't think anyone's more stubborn on the planet. I mean, seriously. And so we tried to parent him like we parented our other kids, which was like, we're the parent, you're the child, here's the rules, you play by while you live here,
Right.
Like you said, you eat your vegetables, you do your homework. It wasn't working with him.
Right.
And so what do you do when it's not working?
Yeah.
You can get louder, you can get meaner, you can bribe, you can threaten, but like none of that was working.
Yeah.
And the teachers were like, he needs to be medicated and like all the things.
Oh, that's awful.
And then we took him to the doctor who helped me. We'll get into my story.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, let him be. Let him make his own choices. And we're like, he's a child.
Yeah.
He's like, I know. And do you want a happy, healthy child?
Right.
Or do you want a medicated child that you make obey?
Yeah.
And who's suffering and struggling. And I'm not saying don't medicate kids or whatever. I'm not saying anything about that.
I get that. I agree with you. Yes.
But that wasn't actually the problem. The problem is he wouldn't obey. So do we medicate him to obey?
Right. And I think that's a great conversation because with Exquisitely Aligned, I ask people if they have an authority problem. And they usually think, oh, no, I follow the rules. I don't have any driving or parking tickets. That's not the problem I'm talking about. And then they think, oh, that rebellious teen, right? That teen like my daughter who's like, I'm 18, I'm making my own decisions. So I kind of have a picture of your son, only with longer hair and a 4'10" version. But she's a firecracker. And when I ask people, when I start with them, oftentimes they have given up pieces of themselves. And that's where they feel sad, unhappy, unfulfilled. And it's because they have given away their authority and are no longer making decisions that align with them. So I can see how your son is like, no, this doesn't align. I'm going to do it my way. And from a yoga background, we were always, the teachings are let the person learn, get those bumps and bruises, kiss the frog, or be in a not so comfortable job, have those awkward moments, because if we kind of coddle them too much, they're not getting their life lessons that then become maybe their career, their calling, their legacy, And so I hear you. And yes, to your point, yes, there's always time for medicine. Jenny, myself, we're not here to advocate either direction. We're just saying from your personal experience, and I say kudos to you for recognizing that for your son and the person who helped you, for them recognizing and sharing that, because sometimes parents or teachers, I would say teachers, need a quick fix
Right.
because they have so many students in a room and the room is set up that you have to be quiet. My daughter was lucky enough, her fourth grade teacher was a firecracker, strawberry blonde hair. And she said to me, Sonia's gotten in trouble 2 days now for talking during class. She goes, I'm telling you this and laughing. And she goes, let me tell you why. Because my mother had the same talk about me. So she goes, although I had to yell at her, I understand. So I'm not really mad, but you do with that information what you want, you know? And I said, thankfully that you can understand that she needs to move around. She needs to talk. She has to express herself with her twirls. She's a dancer. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the classroom doesn't really afford her the ability to be dancing for 8 hours straight. So I love that, Jenny. So was your husband in agreement? And what did that look like? And how did it turn out?
Yeah, that was really hard for my husband, harder than me. Because as soon as I heard it, for me, it was like, that's all I wanted when I was young, to just be able to make my own choice. I wasn't trying to do anything wrong. I just want to be in charge of myself, you know? And our son, he was making more choices that I would say were maybe quote unquote wrong, as in, you know, you're a second grader, you need to do your homework, and he refuses.
Right.
You know? And I would tell my husband, we just have to let him not do it. My husband's like, that is not right. Like, he needs to do his homework.
Yeah.
And the problem is, the harder we would push, the harder he would push. And yes. It would just cause a meltdown, and the homework would still not get done.
Well, and for me, it would be more gray hair and more frustration between my husband and I. So then you have this like void coming.
Yes. Yeah. So it was a struggle, and it was most of his growing up, my husband pushing to me saying, remember, we need to back off and let him make his own choices, even if they have bad consequences. It's his life. For example, he needed glasses his whole life. After, I think it was third grade, maybe he broke 20 pairs in a year. Yeah, you know, those like specialty glasses, they were like $350 each. Mm-hmm. And we were paying him to wear them. Yeah. Because like, I mean, we were trying. And finally, it's like, you know what? I'm not wearing these anymore. I don't care that my eye doesn't work. You know, and it's like, okay, it's your life, you know, and now he's 18. He can't see out of that eye.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's, those are the truths, right? That then allow someone to realize that, okay, and so it's funny about the eyesight, because we should introduce our kids. No, Sonia's very sensitive to sunlight, and the doctors have told, the regular family doctor and then the optometrist have both told her. And I've been for many years saying, I am buying you, you know, healthy sunglasses, proper sunglasses. You need to wear them. You need, you know, and then the doctor is like reiterating everything I've noticed about her. Yeah. And oddly, or funny enough, she is working this summer for an optometrist and who has driven home and who she gets along with beautifully and so forth. And it's been magical because she finally gets it, but she's 18. I mean, this started at a very young age. Her brother, we were able to put the sunglasses on and it was, you know, a no-brainer. But for her, it was, no, I'm not wearing them, or she would leave them behind. And I said, when you start driving here in California, you need to wear them. And like if you're in New York, where I grew up, in the winter, you need to wear them when the snow is coming down and it's blind. Everything is white, including the roads, you know. But so at 18, is he a little more, I was going to use the word agreeable, Jenny, but I don't know if that's the right word.
No, he's his same self, and I love him to pieces. He's my snuggle bug. He gives me like 25 kisses a day and so many hugs, and sits on my lap, and he's like twice my size, you know. And I just adore him, and he does what he wants to do. And thankfully, he's always made good choices.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, he's never done anything he shouldn't have done, which is amazing. You know, he's about to leave right now on a 2-year church mission, and then head to college, and he's got money saved up for a down payment on a house from all his work he's done. And I
Good.
mean, he's awesome. And if he doesn't want to do something, he doesn't do it, period.
Yeah. And I think it's important because we can each learn from him, each learn from you and your husband who were able to step back from that. Is that you said a few key things, well, several, but let's pick just a few for right now, about, when you push harder, they fight back more.
Yeah.
And it gives them that drive to really push back. And sometimes it could be for the totally wrong direction. You're very fortunate, right? You caught it at a time where he is like, hey, I'm making good decisions. I'm still staying within the boundaries you want, but I'm doing it my way. Right. For our daughter, we learned very much to give her choice. I would like you to help me clean the powder room. You have a choice. I just need it done by, and then give her the date and time because we have company arriving, and then I learned to follow up and say, hey, did you think about which day and what time you might do it, just so I can know when I come in with the mop or whatever, and so it became this conversation of, I need this by, and you're driving the car. So in exchange, you'll have the car to do your whatever, go to work or see a friend. So there's ways to do that. And I love the feistiness, speaking from another feisty person. And I love the fact that that's a person who's really here to lead. Yeah. And lead by example, right, Jenny, just like you. Yeah. Yeah. And to lead by example, to show people that we really have the right, we live in a free will world, to make decisions that align with who we are and what we want to do when we feel it. Like, I'm a morning person. So I like to pop out of bed and go, and I have my routine of what I like to do to allow my cup to overflow, with breaks and meditation and prayer, etc. My husband, he needs coffee. Like he wakes up slowly. You don't speak to him. I mean, it was hard as newlyweds. I was like, what are we doing? It's Saturday. And he was like, we're not doing anything until my coffee is like all the way within my body and my heart's down. And I was like, well, no, I need to know. Like, I've been up for 20 minutes watching you sleep, and he's like, yeah, I'm not finished sleeping. I just could feel you breathing, But they say opposites attract. I married mine. And so you get it. But I get it. We all have to be able to be our true selves, but yet allow our children, our spouse, to also, our partner, if you have a business partner, our colleagues, our employees, to be themselves too, and to figure out the best, most magical way. So I love that he's twice as big as you and sitting in your lap and hugging you. Yeah, I can picture that. I can feel the joy, because he can be himself, and he knows that you were I would say he probably knows you were a driving force in that. So I'm guessing your four children's childhood was much, maybe I'm going to use the word smoother or easygoing than what you remember yours to be from your eyes, your childlike eyes. Yes?
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing. When we're young, we're programmed, right? Subconsciously. And so we repeat what we learn, whether we want to or not. So I would say I was not different. I was the same with my first two kids because it worked. Mm-hmm. It's what I learned, and it was effective.
I gotcha.
But then my next two kids came along and it didn't work. Mm-hmm. And so then I had to take a step back and say, okay, this isn't working. I'm not happy. They're not happy. How can I do this in a better way? Yeah. And it really wasn't until my son, was having so much trouble that I'm like, wow, I really need to change how I'm doing things in order to support his health, his mental well-being.
Yeah. And I think that, that's the biggest thing. Coming from a yoga background, understanding chakras, Chinese medicine, not saying that I practice that, but from that thought and mindset, you can see especially as I had students for years, you can track and see how when we feel unheard, undervalued, not seen, it plays on us. It shows up in certain parts of the body. And then each of these organs have certain emotions, like the liver, it holds anger. So if somebody is very angry, something like these imbalances, I should say, show up. So I love that you bring that up about healthy mind, body. Let's add to it soul, spirit, whatever word works for those listening. And that's really key because it carries on, right? So what age would you say, or not age, but when you were mad, bad, and sad, that lasted for decades or for a few years?
Yeah, I would say probably 20 years, my 20s
Yeah.
and 30s, or 18 of those 20 years.
Yeah.
It was a long road of trying to figure out I mean, I married my high school sweetheart. We have these 4 beautiful kids. I have this strong religious foundation. I'm financially successful. I had a huge real estate company.
Mm-hmm.
We had homes and travel and all the things.
All the boxes, right?
I'm like, what's missing? Like, yeah, I checked the boxes. I'm not happy. Why? Why am I still in chronic pain, physically and emotionally?
Yeah.
What is going on? I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
So I just kept taking pain pills and I kept making money and I kept putting on a happy face because I didn't know what else to do.
And that happy face, would you say most people saw you as genuinely happy, or would you say somebody close to you, like your husband and your children, had a sense or intuitively knew that you weren't as joyful as the smile appeared?
Yeah. My husband knew for sure.
Okay.
He knew the real deal because I blamed most of it on him and told him frequently, the poor guy. Later, come to find out it had nothing to do with him, but he was an easy target, you know.
Well, when somebody is that close to us, right, it does become, we sometimes think it must be them, right?
Right? Because who else is in this house with me?
Right.
I forgot I was there. Yeah, so he knew for sure. The kids, I think they knew intuitively. They would have nightmares like we dreamt you got divorced, or you know, all these bad things are happening in our dreams. I think beyond that, my best friend knew, and that was it. Like I wrote a book about my life, and when it came out, my parents were in shock. They were like, "How come you never reached out for help?" You know, like
That's a great,
everything was great.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
few people knew.
Yeah. And what would your advice be now for those who might be in that space or feel like, so two questions.
Yeah.
For the person who might be in that space now, and for the person who has a loved one they feel is in that space, whether it be a partner, a child, a parent, a friend. So any of those kind of relationships, do you have any words of wisdom, or how could they approach, or what would you offer? Because I think hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah. So is the question, what would I say or offer to someone who's in that mad, bad, sad, unhappy, unfulfilled, putting on a happy face, not having a solution situation?
Yeah.
Or know someone that is? Okay. So what I would tell them is, you know, first off, there's a lot of solutions, and I'm going to share what is my solution, what worked for me. And what worked for me was discovering the power of my subconscious mind. So before, I was very literal with my life. I thought that what I was thinking was true.
Yeah.
I thought
so many people do. Yeah.
I thought the story I was narrating in my own head was true because I had all the facts to back it up. Right. And when I would do something like say positive affirmations, I would just feel like I was lying to myself because I
Right.
wasn't happy, and terrific. I was mad, bad, and sad.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I didn't understand was the pain I was experiencing was coming from my subconscious mind
Mm-hmm.
for traumas and dramas I had been through in my life that hadn't been resolved.
Right.
And so I was just, like trying to cover the pain, trying to mask the emotional pain. It showed up as physical pain, the emotional pain did.
And so I'll stop you there. It often does. I've seen it, right? You've seen it. So I just want to make sure that we say not all the time. I mean, you may have been in an accident, had an injury, etc. But oftentimes I want people to understand if you can go back. I usually ask my yoga students way back when, can you remember when this didn't hurt you or when this started? And they usually come back within a week. It wasn't always top of head, but it was, hey, I had one gentleman, it was wife left him, father passed, and he lost his job all within 12 months.
Gosh, that'll do it.
And his hip just became so tight, right? The legs move us forward in life. Shoulders should have, could have, would have. I mean, we can start seeing how the joints, how the certain vertebrae in the spine all kind of relate to whatever, like you said, what did you say? Traumas and dramas that we're listening to and that we fully buy into, right? We're like firm believers of this. And I often ask my clients, like, is that true?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what do you mean? But we don't always ask ourselves, is this really true? And I'm going to show you, Jenny, what I usually use is these, instead of doing down dog, right? Because not everybody they might be in a beautiful dress when they come to see me. But like Wayne Dyer, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change, we can change those stories that you were talking about. So I always give everyone a 60-second egg timer to give them the opportunity to ask themselves, is this really true? What would the flip be? What would the other version of that? And might it be true? And what is the gray area? So I love the traumas, dramas, unresolved. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. And so what I discovered was that the subconscious, according to scientists, controls us about 95% of the time. Mm-hmm. So we think we're consciously in control, but we're just feeling and thinking and acting and reacting based on this program that we have. Mm-hmm. So if we want to get out of that, we have to change the subconscious program. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know any of that. And so for me, that's what was missing. So I met a medical doctor who taught me these principles, and I learned how to reprogram my subconscious mind so I could be who I was trying to be automatically, instead of trying and then slipping back to my old way and trying and slipping back and trying and slipping back. Now I just was that way because it's actually who I actually am to start with. It was just covered by a bunch of junk that happened over the decades.
Yeah. And the junk can come from all different places, right? Each of our journeys are different, but there are similarities. It could be, for me, I would say, not yours, but I just see in general, I'm speaking general terms, societal beliefs, religious beliefs within your own family, whether it be doing money, work, etc., following the rules, like, you know what I'm saying? What's good, what's bad. And then in the classroom, or now for our children, like your son's age, my daughter's age, social media.
Yeah.
And all these stories, most of the time, don't really align with, like you were saying, who you were born to be, who you truly are at your core, your essence.
Right. Yeah. So, and then the other part of it was I was really on the wrong path. So I was in real estate and I didn't like it. Yeah. And I was so good at it and I was making so much money at it. And I just kind of fell into it. It wasn't like I made this decision, I want to do real estate. And so I was out of alignment with my purpose.
Yeah.
And so not only were there all these traumas and dramas and subconscious patterns, I was doing something all day, every day that I didn't want to do. And I wouldn't let myself stop because I liked the lifestyle it was providing. I liked looking good to everyone, right?
Yeah.
And it was keeping me from stewing in my pain, emotional and physical. I was like, sorry, got to go sell another $1 million house. I guess I don't have time to cry about my backache, right?
Yeah. And let's stop there for a second, because that's one of the first things I love to do with people is go deep into their gifts and talents and align with their purpose and show them that these signs have been there. And I think it's true. It's hard for many successful people who have the luxury of earning big incomes. And in real estate, I feel like that career is 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's 25/8, if there is such a thing, but it's an eat, sleep, breathe all the time, constant. And I know there are lots of fields that are like that. I'm not trying to dismiss other fields, but it's like you're always on. The phone is always ringing, even when you're eating dinner with your family. And so I find many people who think if I walk away from that big income, what's going to happen? The what ifs, the fear, and all of that, the judgment. What are people going to say? What am I going to tell my spouse, my parents? I mean, I've had people of all ages say the same things. And I'm working with somebody right now who's 25 and in the UK. And it's fun because it's like, yeah, it's okay. Like making a change, no matter what your age, sometimes it's easier when you're younger, right? Like, let's do it now. Go really deep into your purpose. Yeah. So being in your purpose now compared to what it was like being in real estate.
Yeah.
Tell us, I love how it feels. And what does it look like from like your outlook, your point of view?
Yeah. It's so fun to be excited to get up. I usually beat my 6:30 alarm clock in the morning because I can't wait to get up.
Yeah.
And do what I love to do and share what I love to share and share solutions that I've found to help people improve their life. Or before it was like, oh, I have to do this. Oh my gosh, here comes another call. Oh man, another this or that. Right. And now it's like, it feels so good. And when I get up on stage, it's just like, I was born to be here. I just watch everybody watching me, give them solutions. And I'm like, this is like heavenly.
Yes.
I love this, so good.
And your family, like how has the reaction from them been watching this transformation, you being empowered, you living aligned and using your gifts in such a huge way?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, the first thing is we would not be married today if it weren't for what I do now. I mean, we were struggling for 18 years, severely struggling. And I mean, I was done. And then, I don't know when or if you want to get into the big day for me of August 10th of 2013, but everything changed that day. Or at least started me down a new path. And I mean, so my family is together. I mean, that is humongous to start with, right?
Yeah. And if we can stop right there for a half a second, because we can talk, we have time to talk about August 20th, 2013. Yeah. But this is a good place to say that oftentimes, and listen, I've been there also, Jenny, I think many of us have as women who are constantly giving to so many people, depending on whether it's up, maybe somebody is taking care of aging parents, also raising children, so forth. That was not my case. I was fighting for my husband's health, journey, which I'm not going to repeat. We all know that story, but and trying to raise 2 young kids and just exhausted. So when he survived and lived and started showing signs of thriving again, it's like, oh, this is all his fault. I'm so tired. It's all his fault, etc. And I think that one thing I want to point out, which you've done, is that we have to realize there are other people living in the house, and we can't change. I've been trying, but cannot change my husband. He likes to procrastinate. He's always going to procrastinate. That's why today I have the Ethernet hooked right beside my hip, because I'm like, you have to help me. I don't know what's going on with filming. And of course, he did it within 5 minutes of you and I connecting today. Of course, that's why I have beads of sweat. It has nothing to do with the temperature in the house or outside, but I just know, and I am the complete opposite. As you know, I like to work in advance. I always am ready to go. Somebody says I'm in town, I'm like, hey, I'll pick you up. But it's very funny, but we have to realize we really have this fabulous ability to take things into control, be that entrepreneur of our own life. Mm-hmm. And go back to like your 18-year-old and make those choices and really look in the mirror and ask ourselves all the things that you've done. Like, is this career really fulfilling? Am I waking up thrilled? You know, these to me are those signs that something is off. Chronic pain, especially if it wasn't an accident, or upset stomach, frustration, anger, all these things. Like, you know, when Mark recovered and received a kidney and a liver from a woman my age, my blood type, I realized life is really short. She's no longer here.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to pay it forward by being able to wear a mic, be on a show, and let people know that. And I know you have that similar. So do tell about that day in August, and you can keep it, you know, concise, shorter, because I know I could talk with you for 3 sessions today, 3 episodes, but we'll keep it shorter to use the impact of like, how did that traumatic day really change everything for all of you in such a beautiful way?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was August 10th of 2013.
Oh, yeah. 10th.
Yeah. We've been camping and hiking with friends, and we gone on this morning hike, and when we were coming back down the mountain, we got to this ledge, and the group had kind of separated. It was just my husband and I. And he said, if I was young and in shape, I'd jump down from here instead of climbing down. And I
was down. Okay. Yeah. And how hot?
Not how far, maybe like 10 feet, something like that.
That's a lot. Okay. That's a lot for me.
It wasn't like 50 or 100.
Okay. But that's still a lot.
Yeah. And I thought, well, I could jump off of here. And I didn't really think, and I just jumped. And when I landed, I was jumping down to a rock. So, you know, there's no give when you land on a rock. And I actually thought about it in the air, and I thought, I'm probably going to hurt my knees, actually. I should bend my knees a lot. Well, I bent my knees too much and slammed down on my butt, which caused a crunch in my back, and I couldn't move. And he tried to get me up. Friends tried to get me up. They couldn't. They called 911. 911 sent in a ground crew. They hiked in. It took them like 45 minutes to get to me. Literally, vultures were circling me by the time they got there because I was making those kind of dying noises. They couldn't get me up. Life Flight came, ziplined me up to a hovering helicopter. When I woke up in the hospital, they told me I broke my back. Yeah. I was like, what does that mean? Does that mean I can't go to Ashtanga yoga tonight?
Yeah. Like, I don't have time built in my schedule for that. Like, this is not going to work.
The penthouse is in escrow right now. I've got 4 kids. Like, I'm running.
My husband's hungry.
To church. I'm fundraising for a kid who needs a transplant. Like, what does this mean?
Yeah, like, can we change that? Can you give me another code on that paper? Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I wasn't paralyzed, right? I was just broken. And they said, it's a broken bone, you'll heal. And I thought the bad news was that it would take 6 weeks. But almost 3 years later, I still couldn't function.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And at that point, they said, sorry, lady. I mean, you've got rods, screws, synthetic discs, you've got pain injections, you've got pain pills, you've been doing massage and physical therapy and acupuncture and chiropractor, and like, we don't know what else to do for you.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, well, I'm this type A who has a lot of plans.
Yeah.
So really messing with my groove. I need to find a solution. Mm-hmm. And so I just started asking everybody, do you know any solutions for chronic back pain? It felt like my back was on fire. I couldn't sit, I couldn't drive. It was just tears rolling down my eyes, just popping pain pills day and night. Miserable. And when I would walk out my front door, I would put on a happy face, paying someone to drive me around, laying in the back of my car on ice packs, going to a client's house, walking in the door, taking the multi-million-dollar listing, going back home crying, working from bed.
Yeah.
I just continued to fake it because I didn't know what else to do.
And there is a layer of, what we can achieve even when we're in pain. And I don't know, Jenny, that you and I have had this conversation, but I'll make it short because listeners have heard it. But prior to having my hip and shoulder totally rebuilt, the amount of pain I was in, people were like, I didn't know you were in pain. And I was like, why would I want to tell you? Like, if I'm not going to, and I didn't take pain pills because it didn't align with who I was. I just did a ton of breath work, meditation, like you, acupuncture, chiropractor, massage, infrared, light therapy, et cetera, et cetera. Everything I knew under the sun that I can afford and do. But it was fascinating that people came to me afterwards like, I had no idea. And I was like, I guess I was able to put on that happy face for the short periods of time. Now, if somebody was walking with me for longer than, a few feet, like a few hours of walking, they would know because I just couldn't, my foot didn't always land where I could be stable. It would sometimes, the pain was so intense, I nearly fell to the ground. And getting up from a table after being seated for too long was very difficult. I needed help, to get that leg back into because the labrum was gone. So I had none of that suction cup action. Little did I know, things I didn't want to know. But It's amazing what we can do. I love that. So keep going. I mean, I hear you. I get it.
Yeah. So I was referred to a medical doctor who lived like a mile from me. He was in his late 80s and he told me I should come to his house. And I was like, okay, this is weird, but I will. And when I got there, he taught me that I could heal myself with my mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't my mind. This is my back. Like my medical file is like, like here it is, like, and he said, well, let's talk about a couple things. Tell me about your childhood. And I said, I don't talk about my childhood. And he said, well, tell me about your marriage. And I said, I don't talk about my marriage. He's like, well, if you don't want to talk, I don't think I can help you. Right. And I said, okay, fine, I'll talk. You have any Kleenex? And for the next 6 sessions, I felt like I just sobbed, basically, telling him everything, and I didn't feel any better at all. I felt worse. You're like, what is this? Yeah. Yeah. And what he taught me, though, was that all of the things I was bringing up and sharing were causing tension in my body. Yeah. And he was teaching me that the pain I was feeling was not from breaking my back. That was like 3 years ago and a surgery ago. Like my back was fine. Yeah. It was the tension in my body that was creating the pain. And just like if you were doing bicep curls, after a while it starts to burn. Right. And if you don't stop, it keeps burning. Yeah. But if you stop a couple seconds later, right? Right.
And this goes on while you're sleeping. This goes on, this is just a layer. That's what I think sometimes people don't understand. Yeah. That, the doctor was expressing to you, hey, you do have, and I often say, not everything can we heal ourselves. But the beautiful thing is, thinking of a scab on your child's who's scraped their knee, how
Yeah.
beautiful a scab forms. It's like on the go Band-Aid. You don't have to have it delivered overnight. It's right there for you. And the body does want to heal. It's so beautifully created, the mind and the body and the soul. And if
Yeah.
we can go to those places, but if you were so busy, Jenny, you might not, like if you said, I'm too busy to come consistently for 6 sessions, I'll give you 2, right? It wouldn't have. So I love this. Keep going.
And the other thing is, I didn't understand the connection until he helped me see it, because I was seeing a therapist before. I had told this therapist some things, not to the depth that I told this doctor, but I couldn't even sit in a chair. And the therapist said, you need to heal your back and then come back to me and we can work on your marriage and things. So what Dr. Warren Jacobs, medical doctor, taught me was that it was my life that was causing my pain. And I had to fix my life to fix my pain.
Yeah.
And what I started to notice as I would walk to my standing desk in my office, that my pain would get worse, worse, till I would like drop to my knees.
Yeah.
This was totally drugged up. I was still dropping to my knees. Like, wow, my body is saying, stop doing a job you don't want to do.
Right. Yeah.
And I wasn't listening, because what's everyone going to think of me? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How are we going to keep up these houses? How are we going to travel? Who's going to pay the housekeeper?
Yeah. All those, and those things are, so it's interesting. I'm a connector, always have been, and I have always seen connections, not the visible type like a thread, but when I see people and how they walk and carry themselves and other things, the micro expressions of their face, I see the connections like, yeah, that's not true for them, or that smile doesn't look real, or this feels off different. And I think some of us have those empathetic, and visuals of these messages like, yeah, this doesn't align. So when the doctor said that to you, if I was the fly on the wall, I would have been like, yes, thumbs up. Yes, I see it too. Like, and I think this is a great conversation to have, Jenny, especially being filmed and recorded, because I just want people to know, and we're not saying everyone's journey is the same as Jenny's. My pain in my shoulder and hip came due to an accident that I was in, that just took what was going on in my body and just quickly made that arthritis horrifically worse, exacerbated it. But to use these signs that as you're walking to your car to go to the office, or as you're approaching your desk in your home, or as you're, my sign was when I was a department store buyer, when I went to bed at night, my stomach turned. And when I woke up in the morning, my stomach was sick. So I found a workaround because I needed to pay my mortgage. I was single. I had the cutest cat and rabbit in my little 2-bedroom condo. It's true. And they did get along. I found that if I could go to the gym in the morning as the sun was rising and walk 3 miles outside on the track and just connect and meditate and move, that I could make it through the day to gather my paycheck long enough so that I could start looking for another job. You know what I mean? So I needed a little workaround so that I wasn't nauseous when I got up in the morning. Yeah. And I was happy when I went to bed at night because I was looking forward to that walk. But I only could do that temporarily. I knew I couldn't do that long term. And I think those signs are like, I love that you bring that up about getting closer to the desk. It even got worse. It's like repelling, right? Like, no.
Right? Are you listening?
Can you hear me? No, here, feel me, right? Are you feeling me?
Uncle, I feel you.
White flag. Oh gosh, I love that. All of this, I just saw my timer. So I love everything we spoke about, Jenny. You're delightful. It's always fun to be in your presence. But I know you have something fun, and I'd love if you can share it, because it is something that can be that change, that shift that we may need to help retrain the brain in the manner to live exquisitely aligned, where we are beating our alarm clock at 6:30 in the morning because we're so super excited to get up. So please do tell. And those of you, please know that this information is always in the show notes, so you can refer back to it at any time. If you're driving, you don't have to pull over unless you want to. Go ahead, Jenny.
Perfect. Yeah. So, most of these 8 years that I've been helping other people solve their health and wellness troubles and relationship troubles and increase their professional success, I've been doing it as a private coach and group coaching and retreats and certifying people in my work. And no matter what I've done so far, I feel like I need to help more people. It's just always this nagging, like it has to be more. And even when I'm on stages or podcasts, I feel like it needs to be more. Mm-hmm. And so I had the amazing opportunity to spend some time with Oprah's man, Stedman Graham, through our connection with Sandra Yancey at eWomen Network. For 3 days, I sat next to him on the couch, and we were talking about my business plan and how I want to impact more people and really end suffering worldwide. Mm-hmm. And the suffering that goes on in our own head.
Yeah.
And so it's really not so much what happens to us, it's how we think about what's happening to us and how we perceive what's happening to us and how it feels to us. And I wanted to change that. And honestly, I was kind of afraid to just post my information everywhere because it's like my proprietary information, right? And he helped me get over that fear. And he said, Jenny, your work needs to be shared. How can you share it? And I really didn't know, what is the solution? Because my sessions are custom. So how did I do this, And I found a way. I'm so happy to share. I found a way. And the way is I have an app now that is an interactive advanced mindset coaching session with me. But because it's an app, I'm not there. Right. It's neuroscience based. It's AI based. It's interactive. It'll help you solve your problems, achieve your goals, change how you feel, work on personal growth. You use it every day for 15 minutes. Our average client reports a 41% improvement in their goal after using it once, 1 week later. Mm-hmm. It works. The power of your subconscious mind is so powerful that when you tap into that and change that, it changes the part of your brain that sees the world and you see things different.
Yes.
See yourself different. You see others different. When you see things different, you react and you respond different. And the world looks different. It's like those rose-colored glasses.
Right.
You see things in a positive way. And the more you see that and think that, the more you attract that to you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I'm excited to share. My app will help you. My app is called Leap Transformation. You can get it in the App Store or the Google Play Store. There's a week free trial on it, so you can try it out, see what you think. And I hope you use it and change your life and become the you always were. The you that's been trying to get back out since all this negative stuff got piled on you throughout the decades, just so you can be who you want to be and live the way you want to live and feel and think and act and react in the way you want to. Instead of trying, we're going to help you be by getting rid of the negative things that are holding you back.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. And to build upon that, Jenny, they say that we touch 10,000 people in a lifetime. And I always, when I was teaching yoga, would teach that smile is just a smile to a passerby, a complete stranger, is more contagious than the flu. Now I can say it's more contagious than COVID, right? And people get it.
Yeah.
But there are so many things when we are coming from a place of joyful groundedness and ease of life, what I call exquisitely aligned, when we honor our innate gifts and talents and live by our soul level truths and our heart-based desires, or what what we align our time, money, and energy, we really touch so many more lives. Like you were speaking about, being able to use this app instead of having people to have to come to you or the coaches you've trained. And I think that's very, very important, not just for the 4 kids and the spouse that someone may have in common like you, but it's for even bigger. It's for the community. It's for all the circles you go. It's for when you're walking through the grocery store, shopping at Target, wherever it is. I smile and wave to almost everybody. My husband's like, do you know them? No, but I will now, like sometimes that one smile, because we feel good and we can share a smile with a stranger, changes their day.
Yeah.
And sometimes it sparks a conversation where you walk away with a new friend. So this is huge. And the ripple effect that it has is phenomenal. So kudos to you. That's awesome. I love that for you and for everyone who participates. Jenny, it's time to pull a card from the opening to possibilities. I just need to remove this here and do one last shuffle. And then if you can, just tell me where to stop. Okay. So I'll start now. You tell me where to stop and then which color card it is because I can't see from the front.
Okay. Stop.
Okay. Is it one of these 2 or did I get that right?
One with the tulips.
Tulips here. Perfect. This is ideal. Listening, which you've done. Listening to the whispers of your body, mind, and spirit creates ease, simplicity, and peace. It's how do you listen to your body? How do you listen to your mind? How do you listen to your spirit? Which we've talked a bunch about. But if you want to add, because this is the perfect card for the conversation we just had.
Yeah, I love that. I think that, I actually trademarked the term the body knows because it does. And I feel like the reason I'm such a good coach is because I use muscle testing.
Yes.
And muscle testing is figuring out what their body knows. And so they might not know. It might be subconscious. It might be out of their awareness.
Correct.
But the body knows the answer. And so if you can practice tuning into your own body, like since I was 12, I was on prescription pain pills. Why? I wasn't listening. My body had all this tension because of all this upset. And if I could have listened, it would have saved me. I mean, I went into liver failure in my 20s from all the pain pills I was taking, and then it was like, okay, well, now you have to have surgery because you can't take the pain pills anymore. I was actually taking 30 ibuprofen a day.
Oh,
I know. And the bottle says take less, but I couldn't because I was hurting. I didn't think of the consequences, Right. I didn't tell anyone I was taking 30 pain pills a day. I just packed them in my lunchbox. Yeah. So listen to your body. It's trying to communicate with you.
Yeah.
And what's it trying to tell you? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that when the body isn't listened to, just like a toddler, it gets louder, louder, and louder. And that's what you're speaking towards and it is, I love muscle testing. I help my clients with that immediately because I love for them to see that they have the ability to tap into their answers very quickly. I don't mind them reaching out and talking to me, but oftentimes they can, use me as a sounding board, but get the answers from themselves. It is so powerful. And as much as we want to be seen, heard, and valued, our body and our mind and spirit want to as well by us. And this conversation has been powerful in so many levels. So, Jenny, thank you for being the change that we needed to see because we were missing you and we're happy that you are here in the way you were born to be. So thank you for being you and for sharing so transparently some of the journey that was not as comfortable as the others, the highs, Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And so just to wrap up, if you're listening in on Apple, I'd love to have you leave a review, give us some comments, tell us what you're looking for more of. so that I can fill your cup. And if you're on YouTube, the same thing, leave us a comment. That would be great. We're here for you, as well as television. You can email me, as always, in the show notes. And if you're wondering or struggling and sitting back, how do I change where I am? What is my purpose and things like that? How do I align with really what brings me joy so I wake up like Jenny before the alarm clock? Please reach out. I'm here for you. Till next time, be exquisite.